He would love nothing more than to divide our country based on race, religion, gender, orientation, or immigration status. Because this is the only way he knows he can prevent the solidarity of us working together across all of our differences.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And thank you for your courage to be here, because in the society that we live in today, it takes a lot of courage to say that you're supporting President Trump. And, you know, it's really quite interesting how people have tried to manipulate people and how to intimidate people and change their minds. This has been going on since we've been in America.
This is the conversation the mainstream cameras never highlight. For years, Ilhan Omar and voices on the left have repeated the same accusations about Donald Trump: racist, bigot, dangerous. Repeat it long enough, and people stop asking if it is even true. There is an old saying in politics: a lie can circle the globe before the truth even laces up its boots. So before we move forward, take a breath, grab your coffee, grab some cold water. Clear your mind, because this is one of those moments where the fine print matters, and just when the noise feels overwhelming, Carson walks in calm, steady, unbothered, and suddenly the storyline everyone has been fed starts cracking. No yelling, no insults, no theatrics, just straight facts. And the reaction in the room says everything. The response is not what the media expect.
You know, you go back to the days of slavery, you know, and in a lot of the states there were more slaves than there were owners. So what did they do? They had to divide the slaves. So they told the ones in the house, you're better than the ones in the yard. And the ones in the yard, you're better than the ones in the field. And then after slavery was over, the light-skinned ones, you're better than the dark-skinned ones. And on it went, trying to divide people. Today, they say, if you are a conservative, then you are somehow an Uncle Tom, you're a horrible person, you're a demon. What a bunch of crap, you know, but, you know, it's been going on for hundreds of years. And it's really time to put a stop to it. So I am very happy to see that you have the courage to come out. You know, it doesn't bother me anymore because, you know, I only worry about what God thinks. I don't worry about what these other people think. But, you know, sometimes people ask me, what happened to you? You changed. I haven't changed. I changed about 35 years ago because, you see, I grew up in Detroit, a bastion of liberalism. They call it progressivism now. They keep changing the name. But anyway, then from there to Boston, a bastion of liberalism. Back to Detroit, and then to New Haven, Connecticut, a bastion of liberalism, and then to Ann Arbor, Michigan, a bastion of liberalism, and then to Baltimore, Maryland, a bastion of liberalism. So I had no chance. I was a liberal. I was way out there. And then I did something that liberals are never supposed to do. I listened to a conservative. I listened to Ronald Reagan. And I said, you know, he doesn't sound like a horrible racist person. He sounds just like my mother. And at that point, I started thinking for myself. And that made a big difference. It made a big difference in my medical career, too. I didn't do what everybody else did. I always started thinking out of the box. How do you solve this problem? And that's the reason that God gave us these complex brains. Your brain has billions and billions of neurons, hundreds of billions of interconnections. It remembers everything you've ever seen, everything you've ever heard. It can process more than 2 million bits of information in 1 second. Would God give you something like that just so that you can be a sheep and follow what somebody else tells you to do? Or to think for yourself? And you know, don't you find it fascinating that so many people say the president's a racist? He's a horrible racist and everything he does. Well, you know, it seems to me like some years ago, Jesse Jackson actually gave the president an award in New York City because he opened so many opportunities for black people. Is that what a racist does? And then when he moved to Palm Beach, he was right on the forefront to fighting the clubs who were not admitting Jews and blacks. Does that sound like what a racist would do? He is the one who finally got the Second Chance Act done. Does that sound like what a racist would do? When he took office, he brought the office of HBCUs to the White House so it could get appropriate attention, more money than ever. opportunity zones so that people could take this money and direct it to the places where people did not have opportunities before. An economy where you have the lowest unemployment rates for black people in history, and it goes on and on and on. Let me tell you something. If he's a racist, he's an awfully bad one. He needs to go get a lesson from the real racists. The people who look at somebody like you and me and they say, because your skin is a certain color, you have to think a certain way. And if you don't, there's something wrong with you. And they start calling you names. Those are the real racists. But you know, the president believes that a rising tide lifts all boats. He doesn't believe in identity politics, and that's why he's doing things that work for everybody. And we should be happy about that. And the media, they like to pick on him, any little thing. You know, he's not perfect. I'm not perfect. You're not perfect. The only one who ever was perfect was Jesus, and they crucified him. So, you know, think about this. And we need to just look at the big picture, think about all the incredible things that are happening. Think for ourselves and be missionaries. Go out and talk to your family, talk to your friends, help them to realize, because see, if all they're doing is looking at certain media, they don't even know about these things that we just talked about that he has done. And so they can perpetrate this horrible image of him being a bad person. It is absolutely not true. I work with him all the time. He's a wonderful person. He's become a good friend. You remember during the campaign when we were having a debate, and I couldn't hear my name. I came out, I stood there, I was waiting to hear everybody else gleefully walk past. He was the only one who stood with me until they straightened it out. That's the kind of person that our president is. He is my friend, and he will be your friend as you get to know him. Ladies and gentlemen, the 45th president of the United States, Donald J.
Ben Carson opens with a simple word, courage, because it takes courage to stand against a loud, dominant narrative, especially one driven by figures like Ilhan Omar. He reminds everyone that division in America did not start yesterday. It has been a political tool for generations. Tell people who to fear, tell them who to blame, tell them what they are allowed to believe today. That tactic shows up as identity politics if you back the wrong candidate. You are not just wrong, you are labeled immoral, that is the trap, and Carson calls it out directly. He makes it clear that calling Donald Trump a racist does not magically make it reality, especially when the track record tells a different story. While critics rely on dramatic labels, Carson leans on measurable results. He reminds the audience that long before the White House, Trump was acknowledged for creating opportunities for Black Americans. He challenged discrimination in private clubs before politics was even on the table, as President Trump boosted support for historically Black colleges and universities, created opportunity zones in struggling neighborhoods, signed criminal justice reform into law, and oversaw record low Black unemployment at the time. Those are not emotional arguments, those are documented outcomes. Carson delivers it like a surgeon, precise, steady, clinical, and that precision is what hits hardest, because if the accusations pushed by Ilhan Omar were true, if Trump governed with racial hostility, those results would not exist then. Carson flips the entire debate. Real racism is not about political disagreement, it is about telling someone they are required to think a certain way because of their skin color, and attacking them if they step outside that line. That is the charge that never gets answered, and that is when the applause breaks out, not because of theatrics, but because the argument just folded under the weight of its own claims. Ben Carson does not go after Ilhan Omar personally, he dismantles the accusation itself. When emotion collides with evidence, evidence wins, and in that moment, with calm confidence and undeniable facts, Ben Carson closes the chapter on a narrative that has echoed for years, and everyone in that room feels it.